Holy moly. It's a new game for the Astrocade, and it's crazy! Woo! Woo! Yep, less than a year after the release of the great game War for the Astrocade, Riff Raff Games is at it again, bringing home another title from the shining, glimmering, golden classic era of arcade machines. It's Crazy Climber. In addition to being another fantastic homebrew adaptation of an arcade classic, it adds a much-needed game in the climbing crazily genre to the Astrocade's library. And instead of just 20 copies existing like War, there's 50 copies of this one, and more available copies is always a good thing. Crazy Climber was developed by Nichibutsu and released in the arcades in 1980. Like many games of the era, it has a simple, easy-to-understand concept, but rich and rewarding gameplay. In Crazy Climber, your goal is to scale an almost 200-story-high skyscraper while avoiding dangers like closing windows, people dropping flower pots on you, and more. And after you clear the first building, 3 more await you. The game gets progressively more difficult, and if you manage to finish the 4th tower, you get to start the process all over again at the first building. It sounds simple enough, but in practice is quite challenging. It's really an action strategy game. You have to move quick, have sharp reflexes, and a keen eye to dangers from above, but it also requires planning your moves, and a lot of patience. You have to be in a constant state of readiness when you play. There's never really a moment to rest, and that extremely tense, strenuous gameplay can make a 10-minute gaming session feel like half an hour. Now, back in the early days of console gaming, it was always a challenge to bring arcade games home. Ports would vary in quality, most likely changing or missing some features, and they also couldn't match the graphics and sound of the arcade. But all of this was understandable and acceptable, as the arcade machines were much more powerful than the home systems. As long as the essence of the gameplay was intact, it was fine enough. The point of all this is to finally start talking about how Crazy Climber fares on the Astrocade. So let's just start with some stuff that did not make it into the game due to lack of space on the cartridge. The music. The big King Kong-inspired ape. The signs with electrical wires that can shock you. The signs that fall on you. The helpful red balloon that will lift you up several stories. And the helicopter that's there when you reach the top of a building. Oh, and objects will only fall straight down, not diagonally as some can in the arcade. Now, if you're a big Crazy Climber fan, this sounds like a lot of missing stuff. But I think what's more important is what this version has. And what it has is really great gameplay. You still have to avoid windows closing on your hands, the mad people dropping flower pots on you, the fetid excrement relinquished by an off-screen condor, and falling dumbbells and bottles. And the key feature that made the original so special, the 2 joystick control setup, is included as well. In the arcade, this dual joystick setup gave great control over the climber. The left and right sticks provided action that resembled how one would actually climb up something. Pushing up on a stick will cause the climber's corresponding hand to reach up and grab a ledge. Pushing the stick down will make him pull himself up. Alternating motion of the left and right sticks is the key to ascending rapidly. Having this arcade-style control is a great feature in this Astrocade version, but it can be difficult to figure out how to hold the gun handle-like controllers. If you can't find an easy way to handle both joysticks, there's also a single controller setup, and honestly it works so well that it's all I use. This method essentially amounts to rocking the stick up and down, causing the climber to simultaneously reach up with one hand while pulling up with the other, and the key is to get into a rhythm, to get the feel of the back and forth motion of the joystick down, and then you'll be making your way up the building in no time. And the sensitivity of the controls is excellent. It's enough to allow you to move quickly, but not too sensitive so as to be overly delicate, causing you to lose precision. In addition to the excellent control options, I need to mention the graphics. Look how awesome they are! Now, I know graphics aren't everything, but remember that back in the days of the Astrocade and Atari 2600 and all the rest, home ports of arcade games were always inferior graphically, and sometimes bore little resemblance to the originals. But despite the lower resolution of the Astrocade, this port looks incredible. The colors and building layouts are very faithful to the arcade, the windows look great, it just looks right. If someone started this game up without telling you what it was, you would instantly recognize it as Crazy Climber, and that is a pretty powerful effect that influences your gameplay experience in a positive way, and something you wouldn't expect from such an old console. I really enjoy this game, and it's great to have another excellent game for the Astrocade. While it might be missing some of the dangers from the arcade, the core gameplay is so solid and good, and the graphical presentation is so convincing that it doesn't matter to me. The only minor issue I have is the little bit of slowdown that happens during particularly busy sections. I haven't played too much Crazy Climber in the past, but I'm a fan of it now. The gameplay is exciting, and while it can be difficult and frustrating at first, there's also a great sense of accomplishment and relief when you finally reach the top of the first building. And that just continues as you get better and are able to get further into the game. With Crazy Climber for the Astrocade, Riff Raff Games has met or even exceeded the high standards set by War, and given the Astrocade another stellar addition to its library.